Father Michel, would you like to start sharing your thoughts on how this pandemic has affected the practice of religious duties from a Christian perspective?
Yes. First of all, I want to thank you for inviting me to take part in this program. And I want to congratulate the Dialogue Institute of Austin for thinking, about arranging this program and getting it started. That was really, I think, a very good thing that you've done, and that many of us in different parts of the world, not only in Austin, can profit from it. Well, from my point of view, I don't know uh, how to begin. It seems to me like what what is what can be gained? What do we gain by continuing to practice our religious duties during this pandemic of the coronavirus? I think, to me, one of the most deep reasons for doing this is in practicing our religious duties and staying close to God and staying close to our Creator. It strengthens us against meaninglessness, against absurdity. It can seem so absurd, Here our lives were going along normally. We had plans made for the summer. We had students had their educational plans. So many things were foreseen, and they've all been changed. People had jobs, and suddenly they didn't have jobs. The work that they had planned to do with the what they earned from their jobs, that all had to be changed. And it all seemed like so arbitrary. It just all cut down in the middle of our lives. I think it can seem absurd if we don't really try to to stay close to and maintain our closeness with God. However we understand God, I think that many people. I live in Thailand, where most of the people, in fact, are Buddhists, and they don't talk about God, but they do have this sense of a deep meaning to life and a deep reason for living. Now, as a Christian, I find my closeness to God through prayer, through the Christian prayers, to really give me the strength I need. I think the second reason is we get a consolation from our faith, from our religious practices, and I think this is a strength against sadness. Things that we miss, things that are not going to go right, things that are messed up, plans that are broken. I think we can find strength in the teaching of our scriptures, of the Bible, of the Quran. That makes us strong. And maybe the most important thing that we can find in our practice of religion these days is hope. It's really, we can fight hopelessness. We can fight just sort of giving up on life, giving up on any reason to uh, to to live our lives and take care of ourselves, to be concerned about others, to think about others. And of course, this also, our religious practice directs us to be thinking about others, thinking about those who are sick and dying, think about those who've either lost or fear losing their loved ones. There's so much. I don't know about you, but I've a good friend of mine that I was ordained with 53 years ago. He just died 2 weeks ago. I've had a number of real friends who have died. Our religious faith makes us think about those who are in danger because of their work professions, and makes us think about the unemployed, the underemployed. People are struggling to feed and support their families, whether we are Jews, are Christians, are Muslims, are another religion. It teaches us to be not so self-absorbed and self-concerned, but to be thinking about others. I think this is one effect really of our religious practices. We think about those who are separated from their families, and those who are in special danger, the elderly, the sick, people living in slums and overcrowded conditions, prisoners and refugees. And I was in a refugee camp of Syrian refugees not too long ago in Greece, and the living conditions were already really awful. You know, you'd have three families, sometimes from three different countries and language groups, living in one single tent, so that in these overcrowded conditions, any kind of social distancing is impossible. There's no testing. There's minimal PPEs, respirators, and hospital facilities almost non-existent. Well, we can easily forget about the suffering of others, but our religious practice continually calls us back to what's going on in other people's lives, not only in our own lives. And I think that really is one of the most important factors in practicing. How do we do it? Well, my family and friends and myself, we have a mass on Zoom every Sunday morning, and started out to be just kind of my own sister's family, but then it came to be our fuller family, and friends from Virginia and friends from California and from Texas are joining. And it's really a time of, as I said, time of consolation, time of hope, time of thinking about others. And I'm running out of time for my personal reflections, but I did want to just close with a good friend of mine who is a Bangladeshi poet. And here's how the way he puts it. He writes, "Giving reflects humanity and the presence of God in each one's heart, surpassing self and nurturing care and love for those who are forgotten and need the most around us and beyond." So I'll stop here and give my fellow speakers a chance to share their ideas, and then I'll be available like them for the question and answer period later on in this hour.
Thank you so much, Father Michel, for your insightful words, especially that you mentioned that most important thing is to finding practices of our religion is hope, hoping that the same conditions can apply to everyone, such as you mentioned, prisoners, refugees. And you also mentioned about our religious duties calls us to think about who's in danger. So thank you for pointing out to the people who need help during especially this pandemic.